All right. Here we go. Live on TikTok, live on. Let me see. Oh, hi, Pauline. Nice to see you. And let me see. Live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Let's see how long Twitter sticks around with everything that's going on there. But in the meantime, here we go. So this evening, I'm happy to see you. My name is Hadass. I am a life coach. I'm a well-being advocate. And this evening, I want to talk about your brain, that thing in your noggin. And I've been doing some research. I am not a medical person. Let's start with that. I'm not a medical person. I don't play one on the internet. But I do know how to do research, and I've been doing some about the brain. So 3 months ago, I had high aesthetic bunch of numbers. Sorry. Who am I? My name is Hadass. Nice to meet you. So, hi, Karen. So, I wanted to talk about the brain because just 3 months ago, I had COVID, and I found that, among other things, my brain was just not functioning as well as it had been before. Now, it's been 3 months, and most things are better. I can lift, I can run without coughing, and I can do things like that. But I do find that I'm more forgetful than I was. Now, I am 60 years old, and maybe I would have been more forgetful anyway as time goes on. But the fact remains that there's no question that our brains can be pretty fragile. And so I wanted to talk this evening about taking care of them. Hi, yes, I do know you can invite people to your life, but I'm not going to. Sorry. But I do love comments. Hey, Michelle. Hello. Nice to see you. This is the most exciting part when you got people who are actually talking to you. And I'm not going to invite anybody on any of these streams because that's just going to get too complicated. But I am excited to have comments, and I am excited to respond to comments. I am wherever they are. So go for it. So, talking about brains, because like I said, I was doing some research about the brain. The brain is really amazing. There's a reason why brain death is considered like officially death in most places because if there's heart transplants, there's kidney transplants, like most things can be transplanted. They have not yet found a way to transplant a brain. I am sorry that you are sad, but maybe we can cheer you up. So, sorry, that's somebody on TikTok. So anyway, brains. See, I've always been really scattered, but it's been worse since the summer. So I really wanted to learn more about how to make it better because I don't enjoy forgetting things. I don't enjoy having to write. I don't enjoy having to write things down. Happy birthday, aesthetic, and it's just when I was young, I had a memory like a steel trap, and but now I don't. And the fact is, now I have 3 children. When you have children, obviously you are going to lose some of your brain function. We used to call it placenta brain, and it's just see, focus. There we go. Okay, there you go. You're getting live an example about how hard it can be to focus. So when I was talking about, and yeah, so we used to call it placenta brain, and I remember when I was having my first child, I was like, well, after this, I should get it back, but I never did. So I don't know about you, but definitely having children is bad for your brain, but it's good for your heart, but it's bad for your brain. But then afterwards, once we're done with that, there's hormones which can cause issues with your brain, and there's it can be really there's a lot of things that can have issues with your brain. So I mean, viral infections are one thing that can cause trouble with your brain, and then there's obviously there's hormones. Again, there's not just not just placenta brain and baby brain, but there's also once you're menopausal, then you are going to have if you're going to have issues with I may have to okay, TikTok says some comments were filtered to protect the community's experience, so we'll see. I am getting some comments there which are distracting me, as you may have noticed. So okay, let me think. I think I might close down TikTok because it is annoying me. There we go. Okay, I ended the TikTok because it was just too distracting. So my apologies to everyone who was watching on other platforms, and absolutely apologies to anyone who was watching on TikTok, but they can't hear me. But there was somebody there who was just distracting me. So I wanted to get back to talking about the brain. And I have to say that I don't like quoting Woody Allen because he's a person who's done all sorts of awful things. But I do like a line from his movie Sleeper. He says, "Don't touch my brain. It's my second favorite organ." And people really sometimes don't even realize they take their brain for granted. And it can be an issue because, repeated concussions have been shown, for example, to really be bad for people's brains. And for instance, in professional football and hockey players, have found this, I forget, CTE, something like that. I forget what it stands for, but it's a really bad thing for their brains, and they end up with dementia. And it's repeated concussions are just, they used to call it ringing your bell, and they would just go back into the game. Now, at least it's taken a little more seriously, but it's a problem. And even people who, do other things, make sure to wear a helmet and so on. I remember when I was a student in the Netherlands and we rode our bikes everywhere, we didn't wear helmets. Like, it wasn't a thing. So I remember seeing the Americans wearing helmets who were, biking through Europe, and we thought they looked very weird. But the fact remains, to quote the great Dr. Maya Angelou, whom I quote regularly, do the best you can until you learn better. And then when you know better, do better. So, yeah, helmets are definitely a thing. But I would be really interested in knowing what people think about brain health, because it's not something that I see people talking about a lot. And especially, like I said, if you've had a viral infection, it doesn't necessarily have to be COVID. It can be COVID is particularly bad for this. People really notice it. I mean, the number one complaint that I see a lot of people saying once they're recovering is the brain fog. And other viruses can cause this too, but COVID really seems to do this. And even people who, people who have long COVID, that really sucks, and then they can have it for a long time. But even if you don't have long COVID, it's, the brain fog can linger for quite a while, and it's really annoying, especially for people who, make their living with their brains, with the creatives or people who are programmers or writers or basically anybody who uses their brain for a living is going to really have a problem if they have brain fog. So it's definitely something to think about. Now, the question is, what can we do about it? Now, obviously, trying not to get repeated COVID infections is definitely something to do. I mean, and other viruses as well, but right now that is the biggie. So I would definitely recommend people mask up in indoor public places. I know that is in some places not a very popular stance, but I think that if you care about your brain, quite aside from the rest of your body, that is something that you might want to consider doing. Quite aside from not affecting other people, but just if you don't want to have the kind of brain fog that a lot of people are living with right now, then you might want to consider not getting repeated COVID infections, because studies are showing that it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So why would you do that to yourself? So that's one thing. There's obviously just a healthy lifestyle. You want to move your body as much as you can, and that is not always simple. As if you follow me at all, you know that I've been quite concerned about ableism, but it's still, if you can move at all, if you can sit in a chair and move at all, then try and get any movement that you can. And if you are able-bodied, then get your butt off the couch and go for a walk. Seriously, there's a lot of people who can't. And so if you can, really give it a try, just moving a little bit. And there's that. There's nutrition. Again, people have chronic inflammation because of the crap that they eat. And again, with inflation right now and everything else that's going on, it's not that easy to get healthy food for a lot of people. But again, do your best. At least pay attention. If you are able to get healthy food, then don't take it for granted. And maybe if you are able to make donations to food banks and so on, so that they can feed other people healthy food, those who are not as fortunate, then it's, this is a good time for it. So there's that. There's exercise, there's nutrition. A real biggie is sleep. And again, if you follow me at all, you know that I have been struggling with that because, it's just so easy to not prioritize sleep because, we've got more interesting things to do. But the fact remains is that, again, if you want your brain to function optimally, you have got to sleep. And that is, that can be really aggravating. We have so many other things that we want to do, but it's important to do it. And let me see where I've gone through. Okay, protect yourself from viruses. Try not to get repeated concussions. Exercise hopefully without banging your head too many times. By the way, people who do have brain trauma, people used to think that, that adult brains didn't create any new neurons, and that basically if you had a stroke or whatever, you were screwed. But it's actually not true. People can still develop new connections in their brain. The brain is amazing. The plasticity of the brain is something else. It is, people who have had strokes, people who have had car accidents, any sort of brain trauma, and maybe they lost speech or they lost movement. And to some extent, at least, it can come back. And that's because the brain is amazing in healing itself if it's given the supports. And again, everybody's going to end up disabled if they live long enough. So it's important to not take it for granted and to be aware of supporting people, supporting accessibility for everybody. But it's also important to make sure that you live the best life that you can with what you have. And taking good care of your brain has got to be a major part of that. And let me see. Let me just get a sneak peek at my notes. Okay. Physical trauma. Oh, yeah. Mental exercise. Okay. If you spend your days sitting on the couch staring at the TV, you are more likely to end up with dementia. And why would you want that? So I remember my father-in-law used to do crossword puzzles and so on, and things like that. Hey, Connie, nice to see you. So when you need some sort of mental exercise as well as physical exercise. And the other thing is studies have shown that social interaction is one of the best things you can do for your brain. And it was really hard over the last couple of years when people were isolated. And people definitely saw that, older people who, for example, if they were in long-term care homes and they were locked in their rooms with no stimulation and no visitors, their brains really deteriorated. I mean, the rest of their health as well. But the most important thing was that their mental situation deteriorated and they kind of lost things that they had in their mind. And it's, for us as humans, that is the biggest tragedy, is losing who we are, losing our memories, losing our ability to recognize loved ones and caregivers. And it's like, we want to avoid that as much as we possibly can. So look at the time. Okay, still have a little time. So so physical exercise, mental exercise. Pick up the phone, talk to somebody, do a crossword puzzle, read a book, take up a new hobby, whatever it is that you can do to keep your brain functioning is going to work better. Just like your muscles atrophy if you don't move them, so does your brain. You need to exercise, you need to keep those neurons firing. And just remember, don't despair if you are finding yourself with brain fog or if you've had some sort of trauma. The brain is amazing and the brain can heal itself to a large extent. It just needs the right support. And that, as I mentioned, that's exercise, that's nutrition, including appropriate supplements. You might want to talk to a nutritionist about that. Supplements can be amazing, but you need to know what you're doing. I saw one guy on Twitter, he's a personal trainer, and he said, if you're taking nootropics and you're sleeping less than 7 hours at night, you're a doofus. Something to be said for that. I mean, I don't always make it to 7 hours a night, but I do aim for it, and I do take nootropics. And every time I don't sleep enough, I remind myself of that. And I'm like, you can't make up for lack of sleep by taking nootropics or by drinking coffee or anything else. All of these things can help. Supplements are amazing, whether it's caffeine or other stuff, but you have to do the basics. You have to take care of yourself. So I think that is what I wanted to talk about tonight. I think I may have to edit this video because I spent some time being distracted. I think maybe having too many different devices going is not good for my brain right now. This is how we learn. Before the summer, I was able to handle having a whole bunch of stuff going on, and right now, I'm just not able to keep track of it properly. And you saw I got distracted. So there you go. You got a live demonstration of why we need to take care of our brains. So I would love to know what you think of this. If you are watching this live or if you're watching it on the replay, I would absolutely love comments from you. And if you're on Facebook, I believe you can give me stars these days. That is so funny. I feel like a sneetch. Stars upon stars. But anyway, you have a great evening. Remember, I love you. Drop me a message or a comment, or depending on where you're seeing this. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye. And